All right, now this time we're going to move to public comments. And if you're going to speak, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if there's any presented material, please make sure you have 10 copies to submit to the council members. So this time, public comments, and we are going to keep track of the 3 minutes because we're losing a lot of time and not getting enough business conducted because we've been lenient on people going past 3 minutes. So, yes, please. And Ms. Hurley will be keeping track of the 3 minutes. So keep an eye on her. She'll be your signal.
Good morning, Council. My name is Dave Cooper. Got to get rid of that. I feel as though this resolution, the Second Amendment resolution, is a pivotal resolution that does need to actually get passed here in the county. What needs to happen to get this done? We need the council to review the possible one requested change that we made last night. The portion is located at the top of the resolution, which I just handed out for you guys. We agreed in a Zoom meeting as a group of people. By the way, we were all perfect strangers in that. We had never spoke one-on-one with our opposition before. And within 45 minutes, we were able to come up with some sort of a suggestion that we thought could actually work. We also agreed during that meeting that, the two groups need to stop the bantering and the bickering back and forth. LSPC stated that they feel as though that their voices have possibly been falling on deaf ears. So we just wanted to echo what they had to say. They were clear on what they wanted. They wanted I'm sorry, I just wrote this really quick. What they wanted was what most considered to be an implied in this resolution. They just wanted it expressed. Okay, again, it is in that top paragraph for the first whereas. And again, we came up with as a group of adults that had never actually spoke before. All we are asking for is that the council to do the same thing that we did. Please put it back on the agenda for the next meeting. This gives you a chance to go over what your constituents wanted to have said. Like I said, we just want to get it back on the agenda, get it approved. There are almost 1,800 signatures, by the way, on the petition to make Wicomico County a 2A. I believe there's actually getting to be more right now. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I commented earlier, commended you for working with the other groups, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Next.
Thank you, Council, for letting us come in and talk to you today. My name is Timothy Wirtz, and I'm a resident of Wicomico County. I've been a resident for 25 years, and I fully support this resolution and support Mike Lewis. I was in attendance on the last meeting on June 2nd, and I was really impressed by the cross-section that we had come in here to support that. We had male, we had female, we had young, we had old, we had all races and all walks of life come in here and support that resolution. So we do have a complete cross-section of our county supporting this resolution. And the only thing we're sitting here for is that we want a larger voice in the State House because we're getting bombarded year after year with more nonsense regulations. We have plenty of regulations. We don't need any more. And we're here. We're not a militia. We're not a vigilante group. We stand for all people, all races, all sexes. We stand united, and we wanted to make that loud and clear. And we ask you to put it back to the vote and vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wirtz. Do we have another commenter?
Good morning, President Dodd, County Council members, and members of the community. My name is Downey Waters. I'm a concerned citizen who resides in Wicomico County and whose family ties go back to the early 1800s. The preamble of and the United States Constitution and Maryland articulate the many elements paramount to our social contract. There's a social contract between the citizens of this county, and we are expecting you to honor and respect our Constitution, your constitutional responsibilities. Given the enormity of issues facing Wycomico County with regards to structural racism, COVID-19 pandemic, budgetary shortfalls, social economic problems, and uncertainty in every area of life, and as an avid firearms owner, hunter, and sportsman, it is bewildering to me and many in my community as to why it is legally or morally expedient to even consider a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution for Wycomico County at this moment in time. This sends the wrong signal to citizens. And I must commend Sheriff Lewis this morning coming in saying he wanted to pull this resolution. Being that he was on the west side of the community yesterday talking about he's a public servant and so much passion, so much hurt, so much pain coming from that community, and being that Mr. George Floyd really by extension is a member of our community, and then Mr. Brooks just recently in Atlanta, and we consistently see young or black men and women being killed at the hands of police. This situation begs another look. I've spoken with many federal licensed firearms dealers, and they tell me manufacturers are backordered on body armor, firearms, and ammunition. Why? Why? What are you afraid of? You asked us to stand to recite the Lord's Prayer. You asked us to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and you say one nation under God, one community under God, with liberty and justice for all. That's what we expect. Live up to it. It is all too familiar patterns in the gun barrels of vigilante citizens, of the needs of police officers, and now this issue of a Second Amendment sanctuary designation for Wycomico County. I think we need to pause. So, and I'll be real brief because I see I only have a minute left. Wycomico County cannot subordinate the federal government of the United States or the state government of Maryland. You cannot. And as a matter of fact, with regards to ordinance and resolutions, it is noted at the state level, a resolution does not have the full effect of law. So I would advise, recommend, implore you to seriously look at this issue with a different view. It doesn't matter whether there's a mob or a lot of people saying we want this. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Just like lynching was wrong, lynch mobs are wrong. Right now, I don't think this is needed. So as we witness marches for justice in unprecedented numbers, even in small towns like Salisbury and big cities across the country, thousands of people are giving voice to the anger, grief. Young, old, black, white, family, and friends have joined together to say, it is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Next.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Nicole Hollywood. I'm a Wycomico County resident living in District 2. I'm a local educator and a volunteer and spokesperson with the Lower Eastern Shore chapter of Moms Demand Action. And I'm speaking today on behalf of our hundreds of local members who stand in opposition to the 2A sanctuary resolution. 100 people die from gun violence every day in this country, and hundreds more are wounded. Additionally, firearms, not cancer or car accidents, are the leading cause of death of children and teens in Maryland. Many gun-owning families, like my own, are concerned about responsible gun ownership and keeping their families safe, recognizing that gun violence is every bit an issue in rural areas on the lower shore as it is in other parts of the state. Our elected and appointed leaders in Wycomico County have an obligation to enforce the law, particularly those that help protect us from senseless gun violence. Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions like this one are legally meaningless, but they undermine the rule of law, foster distrust between law enforcement and communities, confuse people into thinking they do not have to follow gun laws, and may deter others from reporting individuals who may hurt themselves or others. The sheriffs and county officials in Wacomico County supporting the 2A sanctuary status are representing a vocal minority, but not the will of the people. This action is quite simply a gesture, but is a gesture that is insensitive to individuals on the Eastern Shore who have been impacted by gun violence. Leaders who are trying to violate oaths and shirk duties are on the wrong side of this issue. They aren't protecting us, they aren't doing their jobs, and they aren't in line with the majority of voters who support common sense gun laws. The facts and overwhelming data prove that background checks, red flag laws, and responsible gun ownership that keep unsecured guns out of the hands of children save lives and are supported by the preponderance of Americans. Instead of passing dangerous resolutions with no impact on state or local law, our leaders should focus on solutions that help keep families safe in Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Monica Brooks, and I am a mother, grandmother, and a resident of Wycomico County, Maryland. I am here to voice my concern against 2A. While I'm not against gun ownership, I am for the rights of us protecting our families. And to hear that law enforcement would encourage a law that would be, in a way, encouraging people not to follow the law, which we have for the state of Maryland, seems absurd to me. When I first heard about this amendment, and thinking, why is this happening? Why are we even talking about this? And especially, certainly what's going on in our country. But what I need people to understand is what's going on in our country, the heightened awareness now is actually something that goes on all the time. We are just in a place now where people are rising up and paying attention, and you're getting more voices. But this is something that happens all the time. So when we saw Ahmaud Arbery being hunted down and murdered and filmed and called expletives by someone who took it upon themselves to target him with their guns, this vigilantism is something that was put in these particular people were emboldened and felt comfortable to do so. I believe if we have our law enforcement agency encouraging people in our county for this law, I see it as a nod to individuals who do have a vigilante mentality that if you want to go and do something on your own independently, if you want to take the law into your own hands, if you want to go and do citizens arrest, if you want to go and attack people that you choose to do so, then you're getting an you're saying, you're feeling that you're being deputized by our sheriff's department, just like a good old-fashioned Western. In a good old-fashioned Western, they'd have the guy that was the sheriff and he was a lone wolf, then you had the bad guys come in and then they said, oh no, we need more help. So then they just picked random people in the group and said, hey, I'm Johnny, you're deputized, John, you're deputized, all you. So these people who are looking for an excuse will feel that they have an excuse in solidarity with our law enforcement by having this law passed, okay? We can't have it. This particular area, and I wasn't born here, but when I came here, I found out just how quickly it's so divided racially. This is something significant. Even though the population of African Americans is 25% in Wycomico County, or 27%, we are still deserve to have a voice, and all people should be considered. One last thing about this mutual aid, we have no way to have discretion on what kind of people are going to be coming into this town and being utilized. We here in this county, the sheriff says that he wants to make sure that the people in this, that his officers are accountable. We don't know what the world we're going to get when we open our borders to whoever else wants to come in here. And that's going to be on us. That blood will be on our hands for whoever comes in here and tries to play, rah-rah, wild, wild west up in Wycomico County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Danielle Thomas. I am a taxpayer, I am a voter, I am a homeowner, and I have a license to purchase a gun if necessary when I feel I need to. Today I'm here because I really, honestly, first off, let me say, I believe in my Second Amendment right. I believe in the right to bear arms. And at this point, it's confusing to me because I don't actually know. I don't try to perpetrate or walk around and pretend like I know every aspect of what's going on and every aspect of the law. So I'm kind of confused as to what a sanctuary state entails. Because at this point, at this time, as I took the class, I was told that if somebody steps onto my doorstep, I have to wait till they come into my home and physically halfway attack me before I can even shoot my gun. That being the case, because of the climate and the time that we're in, I don't think it's a good idea. Though like I said, I believe in my Second Amendment right. I believe whatever. But because it's not the child in the hood or the child, the minority or the low-income person of any color or race that may bring a gun. Because I'm going to say, our sheriff makes sure he cleans that up. You're not going to have guns. It is the law-abiding. It is the law-abiding. It's the law-abiding ticking time bomb that I'm afraid of, who plants seeds of hatred and destruction. I want to protect my house. I don't care who likes me. I don't discriminate in who I'm going to shoot against, who comes in my yard. Black, white, Mexican, handicapped, elderly, new, old, young. I don't discriminate. But I can't speak for other people. And if I had that sense of a surety that you're going to play your position, I'm going to play my position, only time we're going to use these guns is when somebody come in my yard or my house. I can't guarantee that because, like I said, I'm afraid of the ticking time bomb who's planting seeds of destruction and hatred in their child. But at the same time, instead of our focus being on a sanctuary, I think our focus really needs to be on protecting homeowners who may have to shoot somebody coming into their home at that moment and being charged. When I take these heels off, I am only 5 feet. And God forgive me. And I said, now you can put it on record. But if a grown man or a gang of grown men or a gang of grown women, anybody come in my yard or come in my house, I don't think I'm going to give them time to get on top of me and try to fight them off. So at this point, I feel like we should more so be focused on protecting gun owners' rights as far as prosecution and helping those felons who are now living productive lives be able to reinstate that doesn't have violent or sexual assaults or anything, be able to be reinstated so that we can fairly balance who can have guns. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Ashanti, and I'm president of Wycomico County NAACP. Can you hear me okay?
You can take your mask off if you want.
I'm going to read a letter from a young lady that could not be here. But before I do that, one of the things that and protocol being established, one of the things that makes all of this a problem is that it's being done at a time wherein people from the community are not privy to a public hearing and not privy to really understanding what it is you're asking of us. And both this to Second Amendment sanctuary resolution and the mutual aid agreement. So one of the things we'd like to ask you all to do is that before you pass something, give us the opportunity to actually understand it and share our views before you vote. Sharing our views after you vote means nothing. So going forward, I hope that you keep that in mind. The next thing is, I'm glad that it was taken off of the agenda today. I commend the sheriff for taking it off the agenda, or asked for it to be taken off the agenda. Our feeling is that it should never have been put on the agenda, especially in a time where we're dealing with COVID-19 as a pandemic, and also dealing with a second pandemic of black men and women being murdered. So for us, we're dealing with two pandemics. And so I'm thankful. I have 1 minute to go. Appreciate it. Okay, over the past 3 weeks, we have witnessed many Americans protest the brutality committed against black bodies in the United States. Some of the peaceful protests occurring locally. Though much of the focus had been on police brutality, the broader overview about the overall brutality and violence against black people in America. The broader awareness, conversation, and action of our nation is based on cases such as George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, and many, many more. I respect the constitutional right of the Second Amendment for every eligible American to bear arms regardless of race, socioeconomic status, gender, and so on. Where is the attack on the Second Amendment rights of Wicomico County residents? Where is the need for this symbolic resolution in our county? There is no reason to pass this resolution, which sends an inappropriate message to the community where we are continually working to improve our relations. The effort that went into finalizing this resolution has taken away the resources that should have been allotted important issues in our community, such as education, health and wellness, economic development, the overall recovery from the impact of COVID pandemic, and public safety. With the removal of the Wanda sign today, this amendment sends the opposite message of this long-earned event. The resolution does not align with the sentiment of the opening page of the sheriff website. And the statement states as this: with nearly 150 years of service to the citizens of Wicomico County, the men and women of our county-wide full-service law enforcement agency strive to fulfill our constitutional duties and our public safety mission while improving the quality of life for those living, working, and visiting. So this letter was from Sonia Whited, and she's a resident of Wicomico County. The thing that I'm concerned about, and you can raise your hand when I should sit down, the things that we're concerned about is we need to look at where we go from here. And is this the right time to be talking about a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution? We're thankful that it's taken off, but we know that it's going to come back. And we think it should be killed altogether. We think that it should not come back because we have the Second Amendment to the Constitution. That is what needs to be upheld. And if somebody thinks that their Second Amendment rights is being violated, it needs to be addressed with the sheriff of the county and state's attorney and whatever. We do not need this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shandy. Next. Do we have another speaker? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mrs. Shante. I guess we don't have a trash can over there.
Good morning. My name is Eileen Johnson. I'm a resident of Wycomico County, and thank you for giving us a chance to speak today. My question for you today is politics a cynical attempt to gain more power for a few, in this case the sheriff, or an act of hope to gain power by many? As you sit in your comfortable chairs, and as the sheriff sat for a while and had your ear, we lost many people who came here to speak, at least 20 people who were waiting outside to come in. Many of them afraid for their health to come into the room, at the same time wanting to have their voices heard. Many have pointed out that this is not a good time during the pandemic and during, while we're grappling with our deep racial wound in our country. It's never, in my opinion, the right time to take up such a ridiculous resolution. So as you sit and decide that, we ask that you think of the thousands of moms who showed up to Annapolis to get common sense gun laws passed. These are common sense laws like the red flag law that keeps guns out of the hands of suicidal and homicidal people. So these are moms who have lost their children to suicide, which is over half of gun deaths in the United States. These are people in our community who have lost family members due to suicide, and they want to have the power to keep guns out of the hands of their loved ones so that they don't die. Also, you're probably aware that the CDC has recently revealed that gun death is the #1 cause of death among children in the United States, outpacing cancer and car accidents. We have common sense regulations to keep people safe when they're driving their cars. They have to pass a test. They have to renew their license. And I also ask that you think not only of those moms and those family members and those victims of domestic violence and their families, but also think of all the people who are yelling from the rooftops that they are unequal before law enforcement. This is a time when we need to be building trust. This resolution is a slap in the face to those moms and the victims of police brutality. The county workers who removed that Confederate marker relinquished just a small bit of their power with that act. The sign was not just a symbol, it was a physical manifestation of racial hatred. And it's a slap in the face of every black person who saw it. In passing this resolution, in any form, you erect a new sign. It's a new way to tell the most vulnerable members of our community, victims of gun violence and victims of police brutality, that you are not of us, you are not for us, and we will not protect you. This is a time when we need to be building trust between the police and members of our community. We need to form a task force that will help figure out how to build trust between the community and the police. So we ask that you throw this resolution in the trash can and sit down, county sheriff, county council, gun activists, gun safety advocates, and figure out ways to do what Ms. Ackley asked us to do, which is make it mandatory for gun safety training and free for every person who wants to own a gun in this county. Why not sit together and work together on something positive that will make all of us feel good, that makes all of us know that we're doing something to improve people's lives, instead of further dividing us at this time, just making everyone more entrenched in their own camps. We ask that you work to build trust, not cynicism in politics. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing, County Council? My name's Justin Trader, born and raised here in Wycomico County. Served 10.5 years in the Marine Corps. I was also a federal police officer in DC. And I teach firearms safety for both Delaware and Maryland. Murder is a crime already. You cannot take a firearm or anything and murder somebody. That is illegal. This Second Amendment resolution is just stating we are upholding the Second Amendment here in Wycomico County to not add more laws to limit law-abiding citizens because criminals do not care about laws. What law is going to stop somebody from committing suicide? What law is going to stop somebody from walking in here with a gun? There is no law because it's an evil-minded person that's going to do that act, or a mental health issue when you're talking about suicide. This Second Amendment resolution is to say that we are upholding the Second Amendment and not adding more restrictions to people who are going to follow the law. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Trader.
Good morning, or is it afternoon? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. I am Dr. Bronte DeShiel. I am here as a citizen of the county, as well as representative for I'm a third vice president for NAACP. Dear Wicomico County Council, I'm writing with much concern and dismay in regards to the proposal resolution declaring Wicomico County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Reflecting on the history of our country and current past events in our local area that include gun violence, I am unclear as to why the proposed resolution has become a part of a dialogue and being considered for discussion to move further. As a native of Salisbury, Maryland, recently returning working abroad in United Arab Emirates, Dubai, I am very concerned at what I have witnessed in our country and our communities as it applies to gun violence and as it has been opposed on African Americans. We are in a very fragile space while considering any additions or decisions to gun laws that would allow the use of gun or firearms to be used as a vehicle to instill fear and/or threats within the community that would be more likely negative impact communities of color. In addition, a new study finds that about 1 in 1,000 Black men and boys can expect to die as a result of police violence over the course of their lives, a risk that's about 2.5 times higher than their white peers. Edwards, 2019. As a child of a father who was shot and paralyzed here in Salisbury, Maryland in the late 1970s, I believe it is imperative that we do all that we can do to ensure that our community remains safe from irresponsible use of guns, using guns to threaten or instill fear, and using guns as a symbol of power and control. In closing, I'm opposed to the resolution declaring Wicomico County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. I recommend that this be dissolved and to use our energy to focus more on pressing issues that have occurred and are occurring within our communities and our country, as this is very important and should be a priority. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Shield.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Lee Robertson. I have resided in Wicomico County for all of my 74 years, except for the couple of years I lived in Delaware. I am standing here today not only for myself, but for all residents that are here today, and for all of those that have sent each of you emails voicing their reasons as to why this resolution number 45-2020 should be passed. There are many others, for reasons unknown, that are in favor of this resolution in Wicomico County, but have not come forward to voice their reasoning. I've seen in recent years so many politicians having disregarded our Constitution and have tried to have parts of it changed. Every year, laws are made taking away our rights, and we are left with fewer of them to leave our generations to come. This is not only a state issue, but a United States issue. People are finally realizing if changes are not protested, our Second Amendment rights will be lost forever. Once we lose them, it will be almost impossible to get them back. As a member of the National Rifle Association, we are so lucky to have them fighting for us on the national level, or we would have already lost many more of our rights. In conclusion, I urge every member to vote yes for the resolution number 45-2020. The opposition has failed to give any valid reasoning for a no vote. It is imperative we send a message to state representatives that our Second Amendment rights are constantly being compromised. And we are doing our part to let them know we will not give up our constitutional rights to keep and bear arms. I will be also sending more emails to the council, as I'm sure they have read some I have already sent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Do we have another speaker? Okay, Nate.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Forgive me, I didn't prepare any remarks because, quite frankly, I didn't intend to address you today, but I feel I should do so. I just want to start off by echoing something that President Theodore Roosevelt said when he was giving a speech in Paris in 1910, and that was that the credit belongs to the man or woman, I may add, in the arena. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being in the arena, for being in this fight, whichever side we may be on, for having the dedication to show up, to read those emails, to respond to the thousands of emails you're getting. So thank you for being in the arena and fighting for all of us. As a citizen of this county, I do have my own concerns with regard to these issues that were before you today. I must say that I'm very grateful for our sheriff, and I stand behind Sheriff Lewis 100%. And I too, like Sheriff Lewis, am supportive of our Second Amendment rights. And I do believe that there is a time for this amendment. But I also agree with the sheriff in that, given the recent events, that time may not be right now. And to speak about the memorandum of understanding that you all passed today, just thank you for doing that. And I want to hang on to that word, that last word there, MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. And I think understanding is what all of us are here to get a little bit more of. And in these divisive times across our nation, what all of us want, whether you're in favor of or opposed to this amendment, what we all want is to protect our families, protect our constitutional rights, and for many of us here in Wicomico County, we want to protect our rights to be hunting and to be gamesmen. And personally, one of the reasons I'm in favor of this amendment is that I look at what's being done in Annapolis, and I look at bills like HB 4. And luckily, we have a great governor, Governor Hogan, who vetoed HB 4. But the legislature will likely override the governor's veto when they reassemble. And HB 4 would have placed great restrictions, and it would have banned the private transfer of long guns. And as many of you know, here in Wicomico County, hunting is a way of life for us. So I get it. We're all very passionate about many of these issues, and that's a great thing. Like I started off saying, it's great that we're in the arena. But I think it's important to also have the perspective of why we're in the fight, why we're in the arena. And I know, and I'm grateful for Governor Hogan, I'm grateful for Sheriff Lewis, I'm grateful for State's Attorney Dykes, and I'm grateful for all of you for the work you do. And it's very important that we can, regardless of what's being done in Annapolis, that we can protect our way of life here in this county, but also that we can hear all the voices of each and every citizen, as everyone matters. And I know my time's running out, so I just want to end by saying I'm heartened by the fact that leaders of the Wicomico County Group for the Preservation of the Second Amendment and leaders of the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus were able to get together and come to an agreement on a revised version of the amendment. And I am very optimistic that after we have time for healing and for having everyone's voices heard, I'm optimistic that we can all come back together and do the right thing, hopefully unanimously. But once again, thank you all for being in the arena. Thank you all for your time and for your passion to serve our community.
Thank you, Nate. Do we have any more comments? Yes, sir.
He's a reporter.
I see that. Do we have any more comments? Last call for public comments. Nobody's out there. Okay, council comments. Do we have any council comments? Anybody on that side? Mr. Hastings.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm happy to see the General Winder sign come down. I think if anyone paid attention, that's an individual who used to brag that he killed thousands of Americans. And yes, we did indeed have a sign for many decades honoring an individual, recognizing an individual who spent a couple of years here who bragged about killing thousands of Americans. So hope that puts that in perspective. I'm glad that that's gone. Next thing I'll say is, as a county policy, I do think that our body should adopt a policy where we don't address federal or state issues or judicial issues unless it directly impacts our land use or our budget. We've spent a lot of time on the Second Amendment issue. There are folks who are actually talking about, Fourth Amendment issue, or Fourth Amendment sanctuary, an abortion sanctuary, an immigration sanctuary. So once again, I think we as a body, the 7 of us, should specifically adopt a federal or state or judicial, when it comes to these kind of issues, that we should adopt a policy that where we don't address these issues as a body unless it directly impacts our land use or our budget. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Cannon, did you have something?
I'd just like to thank all the individuals that spoke today. It's very interesting to see so many different perspectives on the issues that are at hand. And I appreciate people taking their personal time out to come here and speak in front of the council. It's not always convenient. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ackley, were you going to say something?
I just, I wanted to thank all the citizens that contacted me. I had some great conversations with a very diverse group, so I appreciate that. And I echo what Mr. Hastings has said on policy and having those policies set forth so that the public can see them. And we need to do some work on our website and to getting public information out there.
Thank you. Any more comments? Mr. Davis.
I got a ruling from the Assistant State's Attorney, Catherine Rowe, about the Second Amendment. That it starts off and she lists all the counties that have passed the Second Amendment rulings in their counties and what they're pertaining to, and also mention about the one that Wycomico is attempting to pass. I'm gonna read her, I guess this is a synopsis of what they're saying is right and what is wrong. It says, in general, local jurisdictions have only the power expressly delegated to them by the General Assembly. And it reads the case numbers. Specifically, it says that local jurisdictions have only the powers that are granted in express words, those necessarily and fairly implied in or incident to the powers expressly granted, and those essential to declared objects and purpose of local government. One essential power that has been recognized is the authority of counties to budget and appropriate funds. Another is the ability for government to express its views on matters relating to its legitimate operations and to authorize programs and to spend government funds for that purpose. Thus, to extend the various resolutions simply state the views or concerns of the county legislative body about application of laws and ways that will violate the Second Amendment and similar matters that would appear to be within the authority of local government, but would also have any legally binding effort. Some of those resolutions, however, go beyond statement of views of the commissions and actually declare state law to be unconstitutional. It is clear that this is beyond the power of local authorities. A presumption of constitutionality attacks the enactments of General Assembly. Enactment of General Assembly cannot be declared unconstitutional by local officials or even the Attorney General. Instead, only a court has the power to declare a statute invalid because it does not comply with any constitutional requirements. Because the counties lack the ability to declare state laws unconstitutional, they also lack the ability to refuse to enforce them. As the Supreme Court has said, police are charged to enforce laws unless they are declared unconstitutional. The enactment of law forecloses speculation by law enforcement officers concerning its constitutionality. The court did recognize a possible exception in this case of a law so grossly and flagrantly unconstitutional that any person of reasonable prudence would be bound to see its flaws. But the laws in question have not here are not of that class. In fact, the Firearm Safety Act, which rise to first three counties resolutions, was upheld in federal Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Red flag laws have also been upheld against that. I'm saying to this body that when and if this come back up, we need to look at this to show exactly what we can and cannot do. I mean, they can say what they want, that it's symbolic, but the state's attorney spoke on it and told us what we can and cannot do. And if we look at our bylaws and our charter, it also will tell us what we can and cannot do. And I think one of them is we cannot uphold and go against what's been passed in General Assembly. And it's clearly stated, if they have a problem with it, take it to the courts. It's not our job.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I would like to thank everyone that came and spoke today as well. And like Ms. Ackley said, there's a lot of interesting views, and everybody's entitled to what they have to say, and we really appreciate you engaging with us. So thank you very much for everything that you've sent us and all of your comments. With that said, to adjourn from legislative session and go into open work session, followed by a closed work session, to consult with legal counsel to protect the attorney-client privilege pursuant to the general provisions of Article Section 3-305B7. I need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Chair votes aye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to be adjourning for lunch, and we will come back in approximately 1/2 hour. So thank you very much.